The Constitution of the United States. About the Constitution. The Constitution of the United States is the cornerstone of our American government. In 4,543 words, this document describes the structure or plan of the government and the rights of the American people. The Constitution is known as a living document because it can be amended. Since its ratification, it has only been changed 27 times. The Constitution is a strong document, more powerful than any branch of government or any state. At the same time, it is flexible enough to allow for freedom and changes in America. The foundation of our American government, its purpose, and form and structure are found in the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution, written in 1787, is the supreme law of the land because no law may be passed that contradicts its principles, and no person or government is exempt from following it. The Constitution establishes a federal democratic republic form of government. That is, we have an indivisible union of 50 sovereign states. It is a democracy because people govern themselves. It is representative because people choose elective officials by free and secret ballot. It is a republic because the government derives its power from the people. Brief history of the Constitution. After the American Revolution, the states were functioning under the Articles of Confederation. As time passed, it became clear that changes to the system had to be made. A convention of delegates from all the states, except Rhode Island, met in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in May of 1787. George Washington was chosen president of the convention. By the end of the month, it was decided that the best solution to the young country's problems was to set aside the Articles of Confederation and write a new constitution. This was not an easy chore. 3 months later, and after a lot of debate and compromise, on September 17, 1787, the Constitution of the United States was finally accepted by the delegates. But their work was not done. The Founding Fathers now had to get all of the states to agree that this was a good document and that they should vote in favor of it. This was the first great political question that faced Americans. 9 states had to vote for the Constitution for it to be accepted. On December 3, 1787, Delaware was the first state to vote in favor of, or ratify it. New Hampshire became the 9th state to accept the Constitution on June 21, 1788, ending government under the Articles of Confederation. It was not until May 29, 1790, that the last state, Rhode Island, finally accepted the Constitution. The Constitution is organized into 3 parts. The Preamble, which describes the purpose of the document and government. The Articles, which establish how the government is structured and how the Constitution can be changed. There are 7 articles in the Constitution, and amendments, which are changes to the Constitution. The first 10 are called the Bill of Rights. Preamble. The Preamble reads, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." The purpose of our federal government, as found in the preamble of the Constitution, is to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. In order to achieve this purpose, the Founding Fathers established 3 main principles on which our government is based. Inherent rights, rights that anyone living in America has. Self-government, government by the people. And separation of powers, the branches of government with different powers. For more information on the branches of government, visit http://bensguide.gpo.gov/3-5/government/branches.html. Articles. The remainder of the Constitution consists of 7 articles. Article 1. Article 1 establishes the legislative branch of government, U.S. Congress, which includes the House of Representatives and the Senate. The article establishes the manner of election and qualifications of members of each House. In addition, it outlines legislative procedure and indicates the powers of the legislative branch. Finally, it establishes limits on federal and state legislative power. Article 2. Article 2 describes the presidency, the executive branch, procedures for the selection of the president, qualifications for office, the oath to be affirmed, the powers and duties of the office, and the procedures for selection. It also provides for the office of Vice President of the United States and specifies that the Vice President succeeds to the presidency if the President is incapacitated or resigns. The article nominally makes the Vice President the presiding officer of the Senate, but in practice the Vice President only serves as such under limited circumstances. Article 2 also provides for the impeachment and removal from office of civil officers, which include the President, Vice President, judges, and others. Article 3. Article 3 describes the court system, also known as the judicial branch, including the Supreme Court. The article requires that there be one court called the Supreme Court. Congress, at its discretion, can create lower courts whose judgments and orders are reviewable by the Supreme Court. Article 3 also requires trial by jury in all criminal cases, defines the crime of treason, and charges Congress with providing for a punishment for it while imposing limits on that punishment. Article 4. Article 4 describes the relationship between the states and the federal government and amongst the states. For instance, it requires states to give full faith and credit to the public acts, records, and court proceedings of the other states. Congress is permitted to regulate the manner in which proof of such acts, records, or proceedings may be admitted. The Privileges and Immunities Clause prohibits from discriminating against those from other states in favor of their own citizens. For example, having tougher penalties for out-of-staters convicted of crimes within a state. It also establishes extradition between the states, as well as laying down a legal basis for freedom of movement and travel amongst the states. Today, this provision is sometimes taken for granted, especially by citizens who live near state borders. But in the days of the Articles of Confederation, crossing state lines was often a much more arduous and costly process. Article 5. Article 5 describes the process necessary to amend the Constitution. It establishes two methods of proposing amendments, by Congress or by a national convention requested by the states. Under the first method, Congress can propose an amendment by a two-thirds vote of a quorum, not necessarily of the entire body, of the Senate and of the House of Representatives. Under the second method, Congress must call a national convention for the purpose of considering amendments when two-thirds of the state legislatures apply to Congress for such a convention. Thus far, only the first method, proposal by Congress, has been used. Once proposed, whether submitted by a national convention or by Congress, amendments must then be ratified by 3/4 of the states to take effect. Article 5 gives Congress the option of requiring ratification by state legislatures or by special conventions assembled in the states. The convention method of ratification has been used only once to approve the 21st Amendment. Article 5 currently places only one limitation on the amending power, that no amendment can deprive a state of its equal representation in the Senate without that state's consent. Article 6. Article 6 establishes the Constitution and the laws and treaties of the United States made in accordance with it to be the supreme law of the land. It also validates national debt created under the Articles of Confederation and requires that all legislators, federal officers, and judges take oaths to support the Constitution. Article 7. Article 7 sets forth the requirements for ratification of the Constitution. The Constitution was originally proposed as an amendment of the Articles of Confederation, which required ratification by all 13 of the original states for amendments to take effect. Article 7 of the Constitution, however, only required ratification by 9 states for that document to take effect. Scholars have traditionally resolved this contradiction by arguing that when the 9th state ratified the Constitution and the document took effect, those 9 states implicitly seceded from the Union governed by the Articles and created a new, separate federal union. Under this theory, those states that did not ratify the Constitution would have remained part of a separate country. However, eventually all of the states did ratify the Constitution. The Bill of Rights. When the Constitution was ratified in 1789, many people were concerned that it did not protect certain freedoms. They thought that the Constitution should be changed or amended to protect these freedoms. On December 15, 1791, 10 amendments were added to the Constitution. These amendments guarantee certain freedoms and rights, so they're known as the Bill of Rights. Some of the freedoms and rights protected in the Bill of Rights include freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, to keep and bear arms, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, protection for those accused of crimes. The Constitution has a total of 27 amendments. However, since the first 10 of the amendments, collectively known as the Bill of Rights, were ratified simultaneously, it has, in effect, only been amended 18 times. Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Amendment 2. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Amendment 3. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Amendment 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Amendment 5. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime, unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Amendment 6. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. Amendment 7. In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. Amendment 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Amendment 9. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Amendment 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. On behalf of Westwood College, thank you, and we hope you enjoyed this overview of the Constitution of the United States.